Hello lovely people, it's Nicola back in the Stitches and Slapdashery sewing room. How are you? It's Friday. It's not time for me to draw the prize for the giveaway yet. That's on Monday. But I'm starting filming the blog because I've got a few things to talk about. And I like to talk about it while it's still fresh in my head. One piece of amazingly good news. Mr. Stitches had his 3-month PET scan last week. Maybe not last week, maybe about 10 days ago. And he kept it pretty quiet. He didn't even tell our sons. He didn't want them being on edge about what might be the news or anything like that. And then on Tuesday, I met him down at the cancer center to meet with his oncologist because I wanted to be there if it was good news and I wanted to be there if it was bad news. And it was good news. He does have to go for future PET scans. Like the scanning specialist person said they'd like to see another scan in 3 months. But the doctor who he's been seeing all the way through is confident that he's cancer-free. So yay! Excellent news. So the scarf, right? We have to talk about the scarf. The scarf that I have been knitting in Lion Brand Heartland since he got his diagnosis. It's pretty long now. Yesterday, I updated all of the rounds, really, because I'm knitting a tube, stockinette tube. I updated all of the rounds up to yesterday. And, well, up to Tuesday, really, because I don't know if I need to add any more beyond Tuesday. But I grafted the end. So this end, which has been looking all messy for the last few months, now has a lovely grafted end. And I just winged it, and I think it looks really good. I didn't use a special technique or anything. I just, made sure my stitches, my needle was going through the live loops on each side, alternating all the way along. And it's nice and neat. So the red lines here are for the PET scan that he had about 10 days ago. More rest days, waiting for the news. And whoops, there goes my bag onto the floor. And this big chunk of gold is for the good news. I did 9 rounds for the good news. And just before, I asked him to put it around his neck and tell me whether he wanted me to keep on making it longer, but he actually likes it this length. It's long enough to go around his neck and cross across his chest and tuck into a coat. He doesn't like scarves that are any more bulky than that. He doesn't like wrapping them around a second time or anything. And it's going to be really warm because, of course, it's double layered because I've been knitting a tube. So that is almost done. All I need to do is graft that end closed and it'll be finished. Now that we've got to the point where I can finish up the scarf, I've now got to make a decision. Not urgent, but I'd like to make a decision on what to do with the rest of the Lion Brand Heartland yarn. I've got lots of it up here. Not this, but these guys are all Lion Brand Heartland, and there's quite a bit left in this bag too. So I will pull the leftovers out and put them on my shelf. Had a little tidy up of the shelf earlier, can you tell? I don't know if you can tell, but I put the new Granny Square all-in-one yarn at the top, and I thought, oh, you can't really see it. And so I had to put the tripod up a little higher, which means I've had to make sure I'm sitting on Mr. Stitch's meditation cushion so that I'm not down here. Isn't that insane? We do what we have to do. We make do with what we have. So that will go back up to the living room with me just to finish that off soon. and that's really exciting. I do love a finished object. I have to say, one of the best feelings in the world is a finished object. And talking of finished objects, that was a good segue, wasn't it? I have finished the daisy project. I don't know if you were around with me a few months ago when I started off making all these daisy flower squares. But at the time, I thought I might make a sweater. And then I decided against it. I have used quite a bit of my DK stash. I did not weigh this. Should have weighed it, see how much stash I burned. But I ended up making 20 squares and then being tired of it. And I thought, okay, it can be a baby blanket, so I will put them together in a grid of 5x4 squares, and I'll just do a little bit of single crochet around the edge, and boom, finished. I know I showed this to you last time, but the ends hadn't been woven in at the time. And of course, you put a show on Netflix or something and you just weave away, and before you know it, it's finished. It's funny because I had spent an evening weaving in ends, and then the next day I thought, oh, I'm going somewhere. I might need a project to keep my hands busy. Maybe I'll take this out and finish off the ends. And I decided against it. And it's just as well I did, because I only had 5 ends to do. That would have been frustrating, wouldn't it? Taking this out, thinking, oh yeah, lots of ends to weave in. That'll keep me busy for ages. And then 5 minutes later, it would have been done. So it's another satisfying finish. Or I've been in a bit of a sewing slump, haven't I? Because I was getting a bit demoralized about the markets. But I decided on Monday that I wanted to have lots of sewing this week, lots of sewing time. And then I didn't. And the days went by and I got busy with other things. And this morning I thought, no, this has to be the day I do some sewing. I still did a little workout at home with that Mad Fit on YouTube. I did a warm-up. I was very good today. I did a 5-minute warm-up, and then I did the 15-minute ab and upper body workout, and then I did a 5-minute cool down. Don't always remember to do that. I usually just launch right into it and then walk off when it's finished and not do the cool down, but I did today. We still haven't been for a walk, but it's been 29 or 30 degrees today out there, so the walk will happen about 8 o'clock when it's a bit cooler, I hope. So yes, I did do some sewing today. And I thought, okay, I don't know what I want to make. So I faffed around in here for a bit. I tidied up my yarn. I got the yarn winder down, that little ball winder, and I tidied up some messy skeins. So it all got nicely organized in here. And then I had a look around and I noticed these. I found these and I got them for free somewhere. Maybe in a pile of stuff from a deceased lady via a friend. And I thought, oh, well, there you go. There's my inspiration. I can make a bag, one of those bags that's, gathers at the top and folds through the slot, and you sew it down or whatever. And I drew up some plans and made a pattern. I made a paper pattern and decided to give it a curved corner here. Curved corner. Can you have a curved corner? I guess you can. And put some darts in it. And then I just made a few notes of how I planned to construct it. And then I took the plunge and cut the fabric. Now, the fabric I decided to use was that, hold on a minute. This big chunk of fancy, expensive upholstery fabric with that lovely sewing print. I cut into it today, And it didn't feel so painful because I only paid $5 a meter for this. It went in the bargain centre at the fabric store down the road. Perfect. Perfect. So I've made the bag. I have to tell you, if you're wondering why the handles aren't on the bag, I'm going to tell you that in a minute. So, made my paper pattern, cut my fabrics, put it together, and I got to the point where I was figuring out how I was going to slot the top of the fabric into the handles, and probably would have had to hand sew it down, which I wasn't looking forward to, but you know, I like things to be done quickly. And then I looked at the proportion of the bag. This was the size the bag came out. The dots at the bottom don't look anything special. They look more just like a regular boxed bottom, which is a bit disappointing. But anyway, if you look at the handles in comparison to the size of the bag, it doesn't look too bad like that, does it? However, when you bunch this up, it looks a lot smaller. And I thought, this just looks insanely out of proportion. The handles look bigger than the bag. So I think those handles, I know those handles are going to go in a different project. So what I ended up doing with this, I had already constructed it. I used a lovely lavender lining, and I put a pocket in there, which I divided into two. It's not very big, but it's good for little bits and pieces. I ended up hemming the top 1 inch of the tops of the bag, putting a drawstring in. Now, I was going to buy some lavender ribbon to do this, but I thought I'd try it with this ropey type stuff. The downside to the ropey type stuff is it's really hard to tighten up. It does not go all the way because it's so bulky, but I don't think that's an issue because you don't need to close it up all the way. And then I added these handles, which I just sewed to the outside. And I think that worked out all right. Good save, Nicola, I think. Be a good project bag. Or if you're going to a quilt class or a sewing class and you want to take your accessories with you, that would work well for that, right? So it's a good thing I'm showing you this today, because if I take it to the market on Sunday, I might sell it. In which case, you wouldn't see it, would you? So yeah, I call that a finish. So I've got 1 knitting FO, 1 crochet FO, and 1 sewing FO, and I am pleased with that. So I've said before how lovely you all are. You people who watch my vlog and leave the comments, you're all amazing and supportive, and makes me just want to keep on making content for you, and especially keep on making you laugh. I love it when somebody says they almost spit their coffee on their TV screen or they nearly wet themselves laughing, because that means I'm doing my job right. But I got the most wonderful comment on Ravelry yesterday. I'm in the, what do they call it? So Obsessed, SEW, So Obsessed group on Ravelry. And there's a person in there. I don't know their real name, only their username, and I won't say it in case. I have messaged them to ask them for permission to share this quote with you, but just in case they don't want me to mention their name or their username, I'll just read you part of what they wrote, because it was so sweet and it just touched me very deeply. So this is what they said, because they just happened to be a subscriber and we were talking about other completely different stuff, and then suddenly they said, "Happy vlogiversary," and I was like, oh, they watch my vlog. I said, I'm really having fun with it. And they said, I can tell. This is what they said. It's been refreshing to watch and listen as you share the ups and downs. Your attitude to your makes is so familiar, but importantly, supportive to the new sewer, the hesitant sewer, the worried sewer after a mistake. Love your honesty and sharing. Aw, thank you so much for saying that. And yeah, it just made my day. So yeah, words are important, words are powerful, and yeah, they can make such a huge difference to how somebody feels. And I am a very upbeat, optimistic, look on the bright side sort of person. But that just gives me an extra boost. So thank you so much. I didn't do a market today. The last 2 Friday afternoons, I went and did a market at a fruit and vegetable market. A lot of markets. I'm saying markets a lot, aren't I? I went to a fruit and veg market the last 2 Fridays, and I had my table set up with all my sewn goods, and I did pretty well. And I suppose I just assumed that I was going to be going again this week. But when the store put out their socials for this week, I noticed I wasn't on the list, and I thought, okay, I could probably add myself on at the last minute because there's probably room. And then I thought, no, I feel like staying home and sewing. So that's what I did. Tomorrow, Mr. Stitches and I are going to do some fun stuff. I think the farmers market and a nice cup of tea are on the agenda. And then Sunday I will do my usual Sunday morning market, and it will be a lot warmer than last week. And all the vendors will be a lot happier, and hopefully there'll be a lot more passing traffic and some more sales. Because I have to pay $35 to be at this thing. And I've done it for 4 weeks now, and I have not made $35 at any of them so far. Ah, well. Normally when it's 25 degrees out, I usually hide at home because once it gets past 25, I'm whining about the heat. But I had a bit of a sedentary morning. Thanks, plane. A little sedentary morning, doing some knitting, catching up on Mr. Stitch's adventure scarf and stuff like that. And I was itching to get out. I feel like I got my shit together quite well today. I remembered to put sunscreen on. I've got my new baseball cap on and my sunglasses. So I'm being responsible. I've got my new leggings and top from Costco. Of course, I love this colour. And not only have I got this top on, but I'm carrying this, which coordinates really well. And even my shoes have a bit of trim that's that sort of aqua blue green colour. So I'm colour coordinated and everything. I tried to get a bit of footage earlier of a bald eagle baby in a tree. I don't know whether you'll see it, if I choose to put it in or not. But as I was walking down from where I parked my car, there was a couple looking up into a tree with some binoculars, and they told me they'd seen a bald eagle baby. And in fact, it's a huge baby. Obviously it's well grown, but it was hanging around, I think, for the mum or dad to come along with some food. I did not see any adult bald eagles around, but I hope I do, because I love those birds. I really love them. So impressive. You don't see that every day. So I decided to do a little bit an uphill trail today, so that then I can look forward to the downhill afterwards. Of course, the trail back to the car is a little bit more uphill, but it'll be good for me. So I'm hoping for lots of steps today, because Mr. Stitches and I are planning to go for another walk this evening at a market downtown. So hopefully 2 walks will give me lots of steps. Really is a beautiful day. I don't know what temperature the water is, but I'm half wishing I brought a swimsuit, because I think by the time I get back to the car, I'm going to be in need of a shower. The lake's really high right now. Yeah, it's very pretty. And I do love a good cloud. Mr. Stitches used to be a leading assistant in a meteorological office way back in Jersey, where we grew up, where we lived for the first 30 years of our lives. And of course he knows the names of all the different kind of clouds. So he tends to be a bit of a cloud watcher. No, it looks like there are two babies. I see one moving, maybe the other thing is something else. I don't know if you can see it. There's definitely some movement at the top of that tree. In that nest there. Try zooming in a little bit. Yeah, that thing on the left of the tree trunk, it's not a baby because it's completely still. Just on the right of the tree trunk in that nest, that's where the young bald eagle is. And what I'd like right now is for one of the parents to come and swoop down and land in that nest right now. Nature doesn't obey humans, does it? I think it's there. I see a white head, so mum or dad is in the nest. Look what my son bought. It's a giant mug. Seems like my largest mugs are always Christmas ones, so now I have a non-Christmas one to have my tea from. So that's a good thing. So it was a good day today. It's now Saturday. We went to the Farmers and Crafters Market, a bigger one, not the one I do on Sundays. And we had a cup of tea at our favourite tea shop. And we got back around 1, and I didn't have to start making dinner till at least 4 o'clock. So I sat on the couch. I did some crochet. With the daisy blanket being done, of course, I needed a new project. Okay, I know I've got those whips, but we're not going to talk about those. We just want a new project to work on, right? So a little while back, I showed you one of my Lion Brand mandalas, which is a complete cake, and I had never used any of it. It's been sitting around for literally years in the stash. And I decided what I was going to make with it. So this is an old project from 5 years ago that's made in one of the other mandala shades. It's called the Me Shawl, the Crochet Me Shawl by Crochet with Clare, who used to be Bob Wilson 123. And when I went to her website, I tried to go to her website from the link on the Ravelry project page, pattern page, not project page. It didn't work, and there seemed to be an error with the website because I just wanted the written pattern. I didn't really necessarily want to go through the whole video again. As it turned out, I ended up having to go to the video, which was good because what was interesting was revisiting one of her old videos from the perspective of someone who is now making videos themselves. I was watching it and I was following along, and so I made my way pretty well through a second, or actually a third one of these, because there was another one that I made without the pom-pom trim, and I can't remember where it is now. It was made a few years ago and I probably gave it away to a friend. I can't remember. And it was a different yarn. It wasn't mandala that time. If you ever want to go and look at my Ravelry project pages, I'm Nicolaknits on Ravelry, even though I also crochet and everything else. The reason I was Nicolaknits on Ravelry was because of my blog, which of course predated every other single thing I've ever done. and that's called Nicolaknits. So yeah, it was just following a theme. So I did quite a lot of this today. The beauty of this is that it's the granny stitch, so you're working into the gaps, not the stitches. That's nice and easy. You're also starting with a fairly small number of chains. Well, okay, it's 62, but still, that's a fairly small number compared to what it could be if you're making a shawl. You know, you might be doing 300 or something, and that would just drive you insane. So 62 chains, and then you start at the top here, up here, and then you're increasing at each end on every row, and then there are increases in the center, and then increases at 2 other points. And once you've done the first few rows following her tutorial, it's very easy. I would say a beginner could do this. As long as you know the stitch, how to do the stitch, the double crochet, you're all set. So yes, 6mm hook. She says to use a hook that's 2 sizes bigger than the ball band recommends. 6mm hook is fantastic. So here's what it's looking like so far. Started on that top edge, I've been increasing. There's a line of increases here, there's lines of increases here, and then increases at the beginning and end of every row. So it grows quickly, but it goes quickly because, as I said, it's the granny stitch. It's not fiddly at all. And I really love the colours in this. This is Lion Brand Mandala, of course, in the Sphinx colourway. Yep. And it's been in the stash a really long time. But I do love the blues and browns, how they contrast in this. I have just noticed, after picking it up this evening, I have a knot. Now that's not good, no pun intended, because that means that the colour change probably doesn't work as well as if it just faded into the new colour the way it's supposed to. Oh well. So I've made good inroads into this cake so far, and this is where Ravelry project pages are so useful. I was able to look back and see how many rows that I worked before I did my pom-pom edging on the last one. I mean, yes, I still have the old one. I could have checked that one. But if I hadn't had it in the house, I wouldn't be able to check it. So my Ravelry project page tells me how much I worked before I did the edging. What I would have liked past me to write down was how much yarn the pom-pom edging took, because I'm not sure. In the video, she does do the pom-pom edging, but she doesn't say how much yarn she used, I don't think. I did skip bits of it. But for the other edging she showed, she said it took 75 grams just for the edging, which is a lot. But for the pom-poms, I wouldn't have thought they would take that much. They're very small. They're made with a smaller hook. And I'm thinking probably 20 grams maybe at the most. So what I'm going to have to do, I'm going to have to be careful to weigh this once I've done about 20 rows. I think I'll weigh it, and I'll weigh what I have left and just keep careful track, because those pom-poms are fiddly, and whilst they do look absolutely great, they do take a long time. And I wouldn't want to have to rip it out because I hadn't left enough yarn for them all, which would be exceedingly annoying. I did just have a little light bulb moment though. What I could do is I could work one pom-pom figure out how much yarn it takes by unraveling it, and then multiply that by however many pom-poms I need to do. Sound like a plan? I think so. So once I had done all that this afternoon, my wrist was starting to feel a little sore, so I had to stop. I made what I considered to be a very tasty stew for dinner today. It was mushrooms and carrots and potatoes and those Gusta sausages in the paprika style rather than the Italiana style, and some kale and a splash of red wine and this wonderful flavoured harissa. I've never ever bought harissa before, but we found it when we were out today, and they had 3 different kinds. I'm not sure what all the different kinds were now, but they had a smoked one, and I love smoky food. I loved chipotles, which are smoked jalapenos, which is something I didn't know until a few years ago. And I like putting liquid smoke in my chili and that sort of thing. So this harissa is basically red chilies and salt and just one other ingredient. It's really basic, but they must have smoked the chilies first because it tastes amazing. I had a little taste before I put it into the stew because I wanted to know how powerful it was. Nearly burnt a hole in my tongue. Had to run for a glass of water, but I just put half a teaspoon in the stew and it was really lovely. All of that's to say, the reason I wanted to show you this crochet whip tonight is that I am going to be busy with the market tomorrow, and I'm also going to be having to plan a little bag of things to take away with me on Monday, because a friend of mine has a doctor's appointment in Vancouver on Monday, and she's driving, and I asked her if she wanted company, and she said sure. So it's like a round trip all in one day. It's going to be about 10 hours in the car with her appointment bang in the middle, and I want to make sure I've got crochet with me, and that I've got snacks, and that I've got coffee and water and all that. So once I have finished this little segment here, all I have left to do is do the draw for the giveaway and then get it all uploaded tomorrow night. And that'll be done, so that by Monday, when I go off for my long day of driving, I'll be all up to date. And I'm back. It's late on Sunday, and I have just been through all the comments on the blog giveaway episode. There were 19 of you who commented on there, and I put the numbers 1 through 19 into a random number generator on Google, and it picked number 1. I'll tell you who that is in a second. First, I just want to show you what I was making at the market today. I got 4 of these made. So I'm finding that with this granny square all-in-one yarn, that I'm having to redo a little bit, not as much as I expected to, and I am alternating between my 5.5mm and my 6, because it doesn't seem to be consistent how things are working out. So I've stuffed 2 crochet hooks in this little scissor keeper that I take around with me. So I've got scissors and yarn needles in there and some stitch markers, and then I whacked a couple of hooks in there. So I'll probably take the rest of this ball and the blue one with me tomorrow on our little road trip that I'm going on with my friend. So obviously I won't take the finished ones with me because that would just be unnecessary. And I've got them in this little crochet bag that I was that was made for me by one of the ladies at the fabric store when I left as part of my leaving gift. So I'm using it. I was thinking that the beanie and cowl were okay as a giveaway prize, but I didn't really give it a lot of thought, and so I've decided to add a couple more things into the parcel. I'm going to include one of my little diagonal zipper pouches with the robin print on it, which is really pretty. Just has a plain brown lining. And I'm also popping in a little bit of tea, Provence tea, which has rooibos, so it's caffeine free, elderberries, rose hips, blueberry pieces, rose petals, lavender, and natural flavors. So that prize will be going to, drum roll please, Anvita. Your YouTube ID is Anvita Sina. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. 1770. And Google chose you. You were number one. The reason I used Google to pick the number is that I was watching a video not long ago where they said that humans have a hard time picking random numbers and that they tend to pick prime numbers or odd numbers because that just seems more random. Anyway, there's a sort of logic behind it, but it's an unconscious logic behind it. So I thought, if a computer picks it, then I am not putting my influence on it. And if I ask one of my kids to pick a number between 1 and 19, it won't be truly random. So, Anvita, you are the winner. And if you could email me on stitchesandslapdashery at gmail.com with your mailing address, I can get that sent off to you. It was a much more successful day at the market this morning. I think that it's mainly due to the fact there are more tourists coming through that little town. There were lots more people. There were far more people passing through and ready to buy a souvenir or something like that. And so this is my 5th week there. And in a way, I wish I had just started with this week and not gone the last 4 weeks. But hey, as I said to one of the other vendors, I said, so the last 4 weeks were really just training weeks. And in fact, it's all been really valuable. I also set my tables up differently. I've taken an extra table, and so now I can have an L-shaped display. And because the last couple of times there's been no one to my left, I've been able to make a display that faces out on 2 sides. And the vendor next to me said, that's a much better layout that you have today. So people don't actually have to come under your tent to see what you have. You know, I suppose that makes people hesitant. I don't know. Anyway, with the 2 tables, it's all a bit more spread out. It's more visible, less crowded. And I sold more today than I have in any other market. So that felt really good and encouraging. Also had some good ideas for maybe a couple other products, which I might like to sew. And I had a lady ask whether she could have a bag made for her like the one her friend bought, which was my patchwork denim tote bag. And I haven't committed to that because it was a little bit of a challenge, especially around the recessed zipper area. But I did learn something from that, not to interface the denim around the top of the zipper area. So I have her email address. So what I may do is make a bag and let her know that I have one made, and she can come and see it the next time she's at the market. And if she likes it, she can pay for it. I won't do it as a sort of a custom priced thing or anything, because if she doesn't want it, someone else probably will. So I'm feeling a little bit more uplifted today and a little bit more optimistic about things selling at the market, which is fantastic. I know this vlog has gone on long enough. I'm over the 40 minutes now, and I'm sure that's plenty long enough for everybody. So now that I've done the important stuff of doing the giveaway prize draw, I can say thank you so much for watching. Really grateful that you're here. Grateful for all your likes and comments. Totally lost my train of thought. My train of thought has been derailed. Okay, what was I saying? Thanks to all who support me and watch my videos, and I will see you again very soon. Bye for now.